August 7th, 2025. It's good to see everyone here. I'd like to start and call this meeting to order by starting with opening remarks, and I have that, and I choose to say my remarks in the form of a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this beautiful country which we live in and for the freedoms that we enjoy. We're grateful for this government which we have, and that this government is of the people and by the people. We ask you, Father, to please preserve it and to please bless those who are in the armed services at this time to preserve their lives and to bless them and their families. Please bless us tonight that we'll travel home safely at the end of our meeting, and bless us in our decisions here tonight. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Will you please rise and join me at the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? And if you approve it, can we get a motion on that?
And Mr. Chair, we're going to ask that item 7, the update on the Powder Mountain, goes up to the top of the regular action item list.
Okay. Okay.
In front of the public hearings?
It's just a 2-minute update.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I will make that motion with the change.
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just had one comment. I actually intended to make it a last meeting, but just in recognition or remembrance of Lamar Clements. He spent a number of years on the planning and zoning, did an awesome job. He passed away a month and a half ago.
Well, our condolences to the family. Thanks, Brady. Can we get approval on the minutes from July 10th meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from the 10th of July 2025 meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First item is the consent item. It's the Colby Mon Lot Split Subdivision First Amendment. A request to amend a second. Is it an existing second lot subdivision located at 4997 West, 4800 South in Wellsville in the agriculture A10 zone. The amendment will modify the subdivision by reducing lot 2 from 135.51 acres to 100.01 acres and creating a new 35.73 acre agricultural remainder. Do we have any comment on this item? Anyone here comment?
I'm sure they don't want this to go that fast, so they probably just.
I'd make a motion, we approve that consent item number 1, Colby Mon Lot Split Subdivision, First Amendment.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, update on the Powder Mountain.
Yeah, thank you for making the change. We didn't realize that people from Powder Mountain would be here today when we did the agenda, so we didn't want to make them wait till the end for just a 2-minute update. But just wanted to let you know that things are moving forward. Next steps are that we'll have this as a discussion item on Planning Commission for September and probably October. We're planning to kind of break the topics in between those 2 meetings, so you're not having to deal with all of the information at once. We did want to ask, alternatively, if you are willing or wanted to do maybe a special meeting just to focus on the Powder Mountain stuff, or if you want to leave it just in 2 sections on our regularly scheduled.
How much time ahead of time are we going to have to
You will have,
look at it?
actually, I'm going to send out the full packet this week or early next week, just so you have it to start going through it. But then we'll have it all broken down for the specific topics of that, and you'll have that at least a week before. Just another update, County Council did ask for another joint session, so we thought we would do that after we've had our initial discussions in Planning Commission. That joint council date, which I'll need to talk to Andrew about, will probably not be on a regular council meeting, just because we have budget stuff coming up. So just wanted to let you know about that. But yeah, based on the schedule that we've discussed with Powder Mountain about, we are looking for having this up for adoption by the end of the year at the latest, so. But,
Invite them to our meeting.
oh, there you go, yeah. So, but yeah, those are kind of the next steps, but again, we'll be adding this to your Google Share Drive, just so if you wanted to take a look at it on when you have time in your day or whatever, but we'll make sure that those discussions are focused and that you have that particular information ready to go for those meetings. But thank you again for adjusting the agenda.
Thank you. Okay. A public hearing now for Lauer Foods, a South Road Extension rezone.
Yeah, so this is a request to rezone 7.8 acres from the agricultural A10 zone to the industrial zone. The parcel doesn't match the configuration it had on August 8, 2006, but it's still legal since it went through a BLA recently. Approved uses in the industrial zone includes caretaker's residence, general manufacturing, commercial kennel/animal shelter, storage and warehousing, self-service storage facility, transport services, general vehicle repair, mobile food truck, and telecommunications facility major. Adjacent uses, properties to the east and south are a mix of ag and residential, while the properties to the west are primarily agricultural. And Richmond City and the Lauer Food Plant is directly to the north. The nearest parcel in the county that is in the industrial zone is 3/5 of a mile to the northwest. For the general plan or the future land use, it's considered agriculture and ranching. The location is most areas of the valley. Example areas include most of the valley. Purpose and character include agricultural and rangeland uses on private lands. Under conservation easements are expected to continue in the valley. Separation from the dense residential.
Can you just highlight the parcel that gentleman's?
Sorry. Preferred land uses includes agriculture, ranching, rural residential uses at densities of less than 1 unit per 10 acres, conservation easements and conserved public lands and agritourism. Secondary land uses includes industrial and commercial uses directly supportive of agriculture, so processing, packaging, and distribution. Clustered subdivision developments, outdoor recreation, and farm worker housing. Discouraged uses includes residential developments at densities of greater than 1 unit per 10 acres, if not a clustered subdivision development. Commercial office, commercial retail, flex office / industrial, heavy industrial. It's also in the urban expansion overlay. Roads, currently they have frontage along Highway 91 and State Street. Both are classified as minor collectors. Highway 91 is a UDOT road, while State Street is a county road. They provide access to agricultural fields and residential homes. The fire district had no comments. The applicant will have to work with waste management for waste disposal. Noticing was completed on the 23rd, or July 23rd and the 25th. The agenda for the meeting was posted to the county website on July 25th. One public comment was received from Richmond City. They had no issues with the rezone, and staff doesn't have a recommendation, but we'll help you draft a letter.
Okay. Thank you, Connor. Any comments, commissioners, on this? We open up the public hearing.
We just love to know why they're not annexing into the city.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Lauer Foods, would like that to come up and comment? Just state your name if you would, and
Jake Latham, Sunrise Engineering. We're the engineer for the Lauer Foods.
okay. Can you give us comment on what, we had one question here, why you haven't looked at annexing into the city?
Maybe Alan could speak to that more than I can if he would like to, but I do know the Lauers would like to keep this parcel in the county. So,
Okay.
Alan, would you like to expound?
Okay, Alan Lauer from Lauer Foods. I'm third generation in a family meat business, and I've been on the earth long enough to know that if the town grows around a meat plant, the meat plant's asked to leave. And so what we're trying to get here is a driveway, a place to stage trucks, and we're not building a building, we want to put in a truck scale. The truck scale is going in and it's in the city limits. But on a Monday morning, we'll have, 20 trucks show up. We don't have a place to put them. And so we're trying to get access from UDOT so that and that access will be in the end of our property. And so we're going to receive on those trucks and stage them and then tell them where to go. But our water, our utilities are in the county. We have a well that's, as part of the Funk family farm. We're now trying to drill another well, and it's on this parcel we're talking about. And that is, so we'd have redundancy. If we have a failure, we need something to rely on. We're doing things to prepare for the future. Right now, I think the city would let me have water. 10 years from now, I don't know if that will be the case as politics change. And so we're trying to be ready for anything that happens. We've been working on our well for some time and we haven't got much. So we're still working on it, but.
Okay. Any questions?
Alan, how many families do you feed in this valley?
We've got a little over 300 employees, but I was thinking about it driving down. We're always building. Our building's never done. We're always adding something to it. And I was thinking about the people that we use to build our plant or help us expand. All those people are from our community. A lot of the bigger players in the valley will call, when we go to trade shows, there'll be these bigger firms and they call me. They want to come and build you a building and do your expansion. But we've always done our own thing, and the people that we use are members of our community, and it's blessed their lives. We've helped a lot of people get off dead center and different, from fire sprinklers to backhoe guys, plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters. We've helped a lot of people.
Engineers.
And engineers, sorry.
Okay.
How are the conversations going with UDOT on that access?
Yeah, I'm frustrated, so.
UDOT's never the easiest to work with, especially when about a year in we found out we were in a limited access line. So that's basically where UDOT comes through and purchases the access rights to the property. I'm sure you guys are familiar, but that came to a surprise to us, but we have now submitted our Q summary. It's been reviewed by them. Now it's just up to the movement of their decision makers. So to say we're not done, but we're the closest we've ever been. So we're about a year and a half.
About a year and a half into it, and one thing that has been stated by UDOT is that they're waiting for the Cache County to also say that we're good to go. They're like, everything is in the packet, they reviewed the designs, they're approving of the designs. They just said, look, we know that you're going through a rezoning process to make sure that this access that's going into the county is appropriate as it comes up to the scales. One of the big pieces they're waiting on is to make sure that rezone occurs. And
Yep. We've only got 1 or 2 comments left from them, so we're pretty close.
And this will just be for the trucks as they come there each day. It won't be like long-term parking of trucks, or it'll just be staging each day as they come in and out?
We might have, some trailers that we own, but no, unless, some trucking companies might want to dump a trailer, like Brandon Spackman. There's people that we use, and sad thing is Zollinger's isn't big enough, and I'm renting space in Ogden. And so when they will bring stuff up, they'll unhook a trailer and then and then they're hauling for me, you know, taking it away. So we just need a space to park trucks, trailers. But we're not gonna be like L.W. Miller, and we hope we're not gonna have a lot of people come and take advantage of us, if that's what you're asking.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We have any other comments from the public? Okay, please come up and state your name. You can keep your comments, if you would, to 3 minutes, please.
My name's Kurt Ander. I live in Richmond. I'm on 1367 South State, so I'm down at the very south end. Never knew that any expansion was going to happen. For some reason, I don't get any notices on there. Either I'm in a different plot or something else is not allowing that to happen, but yet I'm part of that collector of that traffic that continually seems to flow down there. My concern is about safety associated with that, increasing in number of gravel trucks and trucks that continually pound that road constantly. Is this particular extension that they've got, why does it have to have access to that collector, to the State Street collector? Seems to me like you've got it all resolved down on DOT. So there's not going to be a road necessarily that's going to put that up onto State Street, so we won't get an increase in traffic.
I can answer that.
Oh, that'd be great.
When we worked on this, I think it was UDOT was the ones wanting, you know, they're trying to plan our future, you know, and this is, we're planning the future of our business, but UDOT was pushing to make it not a private driveway and have it a public access and go to State Street. And I don't want that. So I don't. And so I've jumped up and down about that.
Okay. Well, fair enough on there. The other question I got is years ago, Kent Durant came to me and said he was going to build a machine shop. And that machine shop was going to need an access road to State Street. And we were promised that there was never going to be any trucks that would be going up and down there, maybe one or two a month. I've noticed that that property no longer belongs to the Durants. And as a result, that road was going to end at their machine shop, but apparently it goes all the way through now. And that was something that I was not aware of, nor was I made aware of, nor was anybody else in the neighborhood known that there was going to be a through access associated with that road.
That's private, it's not a public.
That's exactly right on there, but it is still a promise that was made that was now when it gets changed. And that's the problem I have with LLCs in general, is the fact that it's just a limited liability. Based on a sale, it doesn't follow. And that's the thing that's a little bit concerning about this. Why isn't Lauer Corporation the one that's doing this? Why is it an LLC that's doing this annexation or this extension?
Okay.
That's a question that I've got. And just one more thing on there. It's not that I don't want that, you know, to occur on there. I just don't want any more impact onto that little collector that's going there, because these homes have been there for a long time, and that road cannot handle what's there. I read in your statement on there that there's a master plan to make the road 30 feet wide. Right now, the closest, the most narrowest part of that is 14 feet, and it's right at the north end of my property. So in order to make that thing 30 feet, it's going to have to acquisition some of the property that's mine, and I can't give up any more of my property for another road. That's why I get concerned about the road and the safety and everything associated with that. I am getting a little bit nervous about the wintertime coming on there, because I know I'm going to get at least 100 people run off the road because they just drive too fast there. My last statement is, I don't believe the county does a very good job when it comes to the safety of that road, because they do not obey those signs on there. You put a speed limit down on a highway for 45 miles an hour, and they come up on State Street and drive 60 miles an hour down that road. Not a very good job. So forgive me if I don't have trust in what the county's been doing, but I don't. I haven't seen any evidence of that, and I need objective evidence to do that. So anyway, that's my statement.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a
Is that okay?
question?
Yes.
Could you point out where your home is?
It's not on that map?
South.
Keep going south.
They call it Whiskey Lane for a reason. That's why Kurt lives there.
That's why I live there.
Okay, so,
I'm right there. Yep, that's, well, no, a little further. See that little band that goes down there? That's a right angle. I bought that property back, I've got deeds going back to 1884 on that property there. It's on the historical register with the U.S. Park Service. The home has been there for a long time. It's part of the Hattie Merrill Morrison farmstead. I'm really nervous about anything in that area there. Just to let you know, I filed a petition with the Postal Service to get my mailbox changed to the other side, to my side of the road, so that because I can't play Frogger anymore, getting the mail with the amount of traffic that's there. I'm in the process now of trying to get my garbage cans to be kept on my side of the road. County doesn't seem to want to deal with that. They still want me to play Frogger with them, and they're a little heavier than regular mail. So I'm a little bit nervous about that side of it there. So just a heads up for you.
Kurt does a heck of a job with the winter decorations,
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas lights.
Yeah, Brady and I have known each other for a long time on there, so anyway.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Sure.
Well, I, of course, can't talk about State Street and the county's plans for that. As far as our property, we actually have a well currently being drilled right in the center south end of that parcel. So a road going through there would have to go around our well house. So just to make that clear, we don't have any,
We don't want to go through there.
we have no intentions of ever connecting a road straight through there. In fact, I don't know if we really could with the grades, to be honest. So the other item was safety, and if you scroll up just a little bit, you can see the existing frontage road on Lowers on the west side there. We're basically continuing that exact road south to the end of our property there. Almost entirely for safety, actually. So we're trying to get the trucks off the highway there.
Fair enough, thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any comments, commissioners, on this, or?
I would just, go ahead.
No, you first. Go ahead,
I was just gonna say, living in Richmond, I've observed, and we even were discussing it in the meeting before, well, or the small talk before. We are fortunate enough to have that grain flour facility, but it's unbelievable being there 6 o'clock in the morning. Unbelievable. Trucks lined up and down the road. And they're working on trying to do a better job there. They're trying to acquire a little more property. But I observed similar thing at Lowers. They've got a lot of trucks coming in. So far, they've been able to keep them off the road. But they've already spent a terrific amount of time and money building this parking lot that will facilitate those trucks.
Yeah.
And I personally think it's important to, I'm sure it's important to their business, but it's important to the safety and welfare. They got the speed limit down to 45 there, well before you come into Richmond now to help with it. But between their amount of employees coming and leaving, and then added truck traffic, I just think it's a benefit for the flow of traffic and safety of everybody that they have that other entrance.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we know, I noticed that, there's 9400 north to the west of Highway 91. I'm assuming that's a county road or whatever, but do we know if the county's master plan envisions a 9400 north on the east side of the highway or anything like that?
I suspect Matt can answer that for us.
Yeah. There's Matt right there.
He switched corners.
I know,
on
I
us,
was
too.
like, he's not there.
He was hoping he'd get through this meeting without walking up to it.
So, as you guys might be aware, the county's working on that master plan, but 9400 North would fall under the current kind of code that the county has that talks about planning for future roads that work with the grid. And so I was really hoping that Richmond might comment, because where this is so close to their boundaries, and if it's part of their master plan. Because if you build the road across the Lowers property and you start looking further to the east, there isn't really a road that continues very far east as well. But generally, this 9400 works with the grid spacing, it works with the spacing along the highway, and so all indications point that a public road that went across Lauer's property would be in line with the county code. But haven't heard anything from Richmond, and so again, I would suspect there's a good chance that as these guys move forward, that might become, they might have to do some dedication of a public road along that boundary of their property.
But just only opinion only, I appreciate what Matt said, but I think we'd have to see. I mean, just to put it in perspective, that gravel pit that's been turned down twice is probably about as far south from Kurt Anders' house as Lauer's are to the north. And that's still all county. So, I mean, there'd have to be some, there's not that many people out there, and you got the Whiskey Lane to dump them out right now. Plus then 6 south by or by North Cache. And, I mean, I know there's more traffic, just 'cause there's more traffic everywhere, but I don't think it's anywhere in the near future, if it ever happened.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to advocate for or against it at the rezone, but if you looked at what's on the county code and trying to keep things, you know, planned roads with what's the grid and the network and all that, and especially where you have one that's adjacent to this right across the highway. But as you start looking outside of this little UDOT corridor, it starts to become a little more fuzzy, because if you go to the west, 94 takes quite a jog, and then if you go to the east, you know, Richmond really hasn't planned that way very well either. So, you know, Richmond has a lot to say on what the county would or wouldn't do in this area, especially where you're basically right at the doorstep of their annexation area. But
I mean, that's why I asked the question, right? Because you can see the potential is there, and anyway, it may not be needed for a couple of decades, or who knows, but.
my understanding is a lot of the traffic on State Street has to do in the mornings too, because the buses will travel on Whiskey Lane or that State Street, because that's the way they need to come into the high school as well. So if you're coming from the south, Whiskey Lane is really the only alternate north-south route besides the highway that kind of gets you up towards the junior high as well. So that road gets a lot of bus traffic and probably a lot of other traffic that's trying to avoid going further into town and then going up on that part of Richmond. So, but I appreciated his comments on the safety and the lane and the speed. Unfortunately, Public Works doesn't have anything to do with controlling the speed. After this sign out, that's it, so. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
I just say my concern on this one is just splitting zoning with an adjacent municipality. That's the concern that I have there, that we're, you know, two separate things, but I don't think it's something that's insurmountable. It's one piece of ground, basically.
The city said they have no concerns or comment about it, so it's no concern to the city.
It's hard to.
Object if the city has no concerns on it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
I'd make a motion to recommend approval, option number 2, with the 4 findings on there.
okay.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Just pull up my agenda here so I can see what I'm doing, but. Okay, so we have a public hearing now for the Honey Solar Stone Project Ordinance Amendment. Connor, if you'll take us through that.
Yeah, so we've been discussing this for the past couple of meetings, per discussion that we had at the last one. The only major changes that have been made since are the small scale solar and the community solar are now just permitted in the A10 zone, the commercial zone, and the industrial zone. So they were removed from the RE2 and the RE5 zone. And then commercial solar and battery solar, or battery storage, were moved to only the industrial zone. Past that, the only other change after discussion with the applicant was essentially to have the financial guarantee completely paid for in increments. So basically, for each phase of the project, they would put a certain amount down, and then by year 15, when they expect operations to begin, that's when the full amount would be paid. So it's kind of the slow build up to that point. But other than that, nothing has really changed in the text since last time.
Connor, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Connor, did you guys happen to check with any of the other communities or counties at all? Like
Yeah.
our location, selection, or criteria?
It was kind of mixed. Some said it was just depending on the zone, so they recommended that the base zone is something we seriously take into consideration. That was the advice I got a lot. But past that, most recommended pretty remote locations. That was
Yeah.
the general gist of the communities I reached out to.
So, just a follow-up question to that. Of the counties that you reached out to or know of, are there more urban counties that have added this as a, nobody, it's all rural?
Typically, yeah, this isn't something you see in like Salt Lake County or
That's
anything like
kind of what I expected.
that. Yeah.
Okay. So Box Elder, Weaver,
It's all pretty remote. They said that
Not-
they're, that's typically pretty fair.
do they have an ordinance though?
I think Box Elder does. I know Iron County does. I reached out to Rich. I was told I'd get a response back, then I just never heard anything back. So typically an ordinance is in place before they even come anywhere close to getting anything close to approval for this, so.
Okay.
Has any county experienced that they changed the zoning for this solar, then the solar backed out or anything else, and then you're left with that zone sitting there? Have you seen anything like that?
No, so it's almost like this situation where essentially the thing that provoked change was a company coming in and saying, yeah, we want to do this, and they're very committed to it. The communities I reached out to, they didn't have any particular case of someone backing out. Granted, most of the big scale projects, like 600 acres or more, yeah, maybe less. They didn't mention anything less. I was just kind of talking about the bigger stuff, so.
There is the one down in Millard County, I think, where it went belly up.
And that's
And-
my worry is
yeah.
there sits that zone change there.
Yeah.
With them stating that this grant would go back to agricultural, but
Mm-hmm.
who knows? We don't know that, so. Did, Jarvis, do you know, legal fees are viewed any of this, or?
It seems like Andrew has looked at it. I haven't talked to him about it. I know that there's, just looking at it briefly, I will make some recommendations based off of what is permitted as far as the restoration agreement, because it's not compliant with certain requirements of contracting and negotiating contracts or something. Those are more, it won't really change the substance of what this is trying to accomplish. It'll just change who can negotiate.
You see anything wrong with the contract on the 15 years of funding it by then or anything? Having a time frame that way?
I don't know of anything off the top of my head, but I think would be
I'd like to hear legal side of that too, so. Connor, if you'll work with them, make sure we're seeing what's coming from that.
Yeah, I've been working with Andrew. He just hasn't mentioned anything yet at this point, so I'll follow up with him though.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing. Should we have a motion to open a public hearing?
I'd make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here who'd like to comment on the Honey Solar Stone Project Ordinance Amendment? Okay, if not, make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I seconded that one.
The two so moves that simultaneous was the first and second.
Okay,
One thing we failed to clarify earlier, I wish we'd have heard he said something before Kurt left, is he mentioned that he hadn't been notified, but you gotta be within 300
Yeah,
feet.
he was much too far to be
You
notified.
gotta be
for
300
that.
feet of any of these projects to get a personal
And he's
invite,
probably, what, almost half a mile down the road?
probably.
okay. All right. So where do we go from here then?
Well, what do we see? I mean, do you think once we fine tune this, do you think somebody's gonna bust loose on that preliminary out there?
Not necessarily. concern I really have with this is the industrial side about it. That's just rezoning to industrial. I have concerns on that front, but busing loose, not really. I think this group that came in is pretty dedicated. So
Can't you put in with that though? Well, I guess no, once it's tree zoned, it's tree zoned.
Yeah.
Let's say.
I mean, the company has been pretty persistent again.
Yeah, they're
County and everything else. I think if it gets rezoned, then they're gonna stomp forward is my opinion.
I think as soon as we approve this, they're probably coming in for a rezone request.
probably same day, yeah.
Do we need to take time to get legal to approve it? Like, go through it and look at it, make sure there's
Yeah,
no questions on that?
Yeah, if you want to continue to the next meeting, that's an option. If you want to go that route.
I think the most important part is we just do it right. And that's why I was asking about other communities. I mean, is there any way of seeing, can you get us examples of other communities' ordinances? Or are we just kind of in line with them?
Generally in line, a lot of the language that I used was actually from some of those and just kind of after discussions with their communities. So I can probably send you guys some examples later. I just don't have any examples with me now.
And again, it comes down to property rights, which we all respect and value, but just the effect on everybody else potentially.
And I think that's why, because at one of the drafts, at least we had this as a public overlay, public infrastructure, and we moved it out of that so that they would at least have to go through a rezone, which can be denied just based on, right, the public doesn't want it, right? You don't have to have a safety reason, it can just be, we don't want it, and you can deny that. Whereas if it's on the other one, they're coming in for a conditional use permit under the public infrastructure overlay, you gotta approve it. And so this at least gives us, in the county council, the layer to say, we just don't want that in that area. We have the ordinance for it, but we don't want it because enough residents or the communities, whatever, doesn't want it there. So for me at least, that gave me the comfort of we've got a step that, based just on public opinion, it can be denied, which in the other case it couldn't. Now, if we didn't approve anything, it couldn't anyways, but
Yeah.
at least.
For the public infrastructure overlay, you'd still have to rezone.
Yeah,
so,
but it just seemed it was a little, I think narrow it to only one little spot where it can fit in, at least made me more comfortable with it, but.
Yeah, I think ultimately, the location is what
drive
makes
it or
the
not.
most difference,
Yeah.
right? So,
Correct.
Well, and in comparison, one thought that comes to mind is Logan City's Humaner deal. I mean, it really could have went out there on 3200 West, but the public made it known that they didn't want it out there, and it didn't go, so
Now we don't even share garbage anymore, thanks to
anyhow.
some of those disagreements.
But what, Chris, basically, isn't that the truth? I mean, if it comes up and,
Yeah, we
People-
have more discretion on the rezone, that's what we want.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable once legal's good with it, a few of those word changes, I think, the way it is, I think it's pretty
So
good.
do we need to continue it then until
think so.
legal's?
Make sure they review it, and then we can approve it next month, potentially, unless they find something vastly wrong in there. Scrap it.
With that, that said, I move that we continue the excuse me, I'm on the wrong. I am on the wrong place. That we continue the Honey Solar Stone Project Ordinance Amendment for up to 90 days.
Okay. Do you have a motion on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now have the Triple C Secure Storage CUP, a request to create and operate a self-service storage facility. Connor, if you'll take us through that one.
So this is a request to create and operate a self-service storage facility at use type 3410. Parcel's legal. The parcels to the north and the east are primarily agricultural. The caveat there is to the east there's a planned subdivision with quite a few lots. Parcels to the south and west are a mix of ag and residential. The hours of operation are 24/7, 365. The two owners of the property will be the sole employees. For a total of structures, there'll be a total of 8 storage buildings, 3 buildings for RV storage. Caveat there is the directors interpreted that as long as the structures have 3 sides to them, they're good to store, so even though it's not the industrial zone. And there's 1 office building. A sign will be located on one of the buildings. Equipment will be limited just to that what's used to maintain the site. Waste must be disposed of via standard methods. For stormwater, just the standard stormwater conditions exist. Stormwater report is following those. There is a bit of a weird one in the sense that the village at Fox Meadows, Phase 8, which is that one to the east, there was a discussion about taking some of their stormwater and I think disposing of it, conveying it, something like that. Yeah. In that case, if they want to do that, they'll just have to come back and amend the CUP or get a new CUP for it. Past that, the road's a minor collector. The county owns the road to the north, 6600 north. It provides access to agricultural fields and residential homes. Has a minimum access spacing of 350 feet for public-private roads or public/private roads, and 200 feet for commercial, residential, or farm access. It's maintained by the county year-round. It's 20 feet wide, has a 40-foot right-of-way, a 1 to 2 foot paved shoulder, a 1 to 2 foot gravel shoulder, and a 10-foot clear zone. It's considered substandard as to right-of-way, paved shoulder, gravel shoulder, and clear zone. There's also a proposed access from 800 West, which is a Smithfield City Road. So if they want to move forward with that, they'll just have to provide written consent from Smithfield City saying they're allowed to use it. Parking, they will have to do a parking analysis just because the overall development's above 1,250 square feet. The fire district didn't have any comments. They basically just said everything from them will happen at the time of zoning clearances and building permits. Solid waste disposal is the responsibility of the applicant. In terms of detrimental effects in sensitive lands, lighting, they'll need to submit a lighting plan and ensure compliance with dark sky standards. Air quality, they'll just need to make sure that best management practices are followed during the construction phase. Canals, they'll just need to work with the canal companies and make sure that, essentially there's 2 canals running on the east and west side of the property. They'll just need to make sure that they're working with those companies and anything they have is met. There is a section corner on the property. It looks based on their site plan that it will be disturbed, so they'll just need to work with Public Works on that one. They're also in the airport approach zone, so the property owners must be aware that they're located in proximity to the airport. Noticing was done on July 23rd and 25th. The agenda was posted to the county website on the 25th. And no public comments have been received at the time of writing the report, and staff recommends approval with the 24 listed conditions and 2 conclusions.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So Connor or Angie, can you answer me on 3C? It is the interpretation of the Director of Development Services. The difference between 3 wells and 4 wells and how that affects the industrial zone.
So with self-storage facilities, if they have open storage of vehicles or other equipment, you would have to have the industrial zone in order to move forward with this CUP. So the interpretation comes in if it's within a structure. So the intent is that it's screened and not visible from the road. So if they're doing these structures that have 3-sided, we determined that that would allow for them to move forward with the RV storage in the commercial zone.
So in a sense, you're saying that there's nothing stored out visible, just like a parking stall, right?
Right, yeah, nothing that's just open air.
So I'm just hoping that, how far deep did you go on that discussion of the 3 wells versus being industrial?
Yeah, it initially started as just like a pole barn or just kind of a roof with just poles holding it up and no screening. And that to me didn't seem like it quite met the intent. It still seemed pretty open air, just covered parking instead of open air parking. And so adding the screening with the 3 walls, but still allowing for the vehicles for an easier ingress, egress, I guess I would say, seemed to satisfy the requirement and the intent to not have an open air parking lot in a commercial zone for storage.
I'm a little confused on that too, so do we know, we could look real quick. So is Brandon Spackman in Richmond, is he industrial?
I think he's within Richmond City, so.
One more time?
I think he's within Richmond City.
Oh, I think he is, you're right.
that applied on any building before it goes to industrial, if you're talking enclosed or not? When they start looking at the rezone?
Again, it's more about the use. So they initially came in, got the commercial rezone, and then we realized that they wanted to do RV storage, boat storage type stuff. So we tried to work with them to figure out an alternative route than to come back for an industrial zone. And again, based on the description, based on definition of structure, and that it's screened from the road using these three-sided buildings, that it would fall under the commercial zone for self-storage in that case versus the open storage.
Commercial. Do they have outside there?
They do. They have this. Yeah, so the ones in Nibley, do they have sides on theirs?
You're talking South Nibley?
What's the name?
1200 west between Millers and Nibley.
Yeah, that is
South
a,
storage.
yeah, that's an older one, predates my position at the county, and I can't remember, can you bring that up, what the zoning might be there?
It's zoned commercial.
The concern is with snow load and all, you gotta have a pretty good building. And Chris, have you guys done any research at all? Can you charge enough to compete with the people that are open to attract? I mean, Preston does it.
What do you say, the snow, I mean?
Well, Nolan brought up a very good point on behalf of a storage owner in general, that if you have to comply with this cover, are you guys familiar with the requirements that they're saying?
The back, basically just the back and the top, and the sides of the, I mean, that's basically.
Side just two ends.
Besides the two ends, that's.
So my question is though, time you factor in, if you don't have a building, I don't know what they charge, 85 a month, 45 a month. When you factor in a building, if you're competing against these folks that don't have covered storage, can you get enough out of it to pay your building off and still make it?
Yes.
You can? There's enough interest, people willing to do that.
I've had a lot of, I've had more interest in the self than that than I have interest.
So this is nothing you're even worried about?
Not even more, no.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, but this will also, if he does that wall on the back of the building, it essentially counts as his fence too, right? He doesn't need to build a fence behind that to screen it. Right? There's no need to have a fence and a wall, because the fence is for screening, and it may or may not, I think, if we read the code, right? It's not a.
I believe the planning,
Some screening's required.
right, and I believe the planning commissioners can make that finding
Yeah, I
that
would
counts
think
as the
wall would
fence.
certainly meet the condition of screening for him, so then he doesn't have to spend.
Well, he's gonna
$40,000.
want it for security anyway, but.
Yeah, the wall will be.
We still have requirements. How far we gotta be off the property line? Are we 10 feet,
30.
20 feet?
30.
30.
Yeah, 30.
So you lose a little usage of your land without a fence, but
That's where all his stormwater can go out there.
it's a good idea.
That's why I've been talking with Visionary, they approached me, and it's not there yet, but with that 30-foot setback, they're interested in using some of that as
Recycling the water.
some of their stormwater too, but we're not there yet, and if I get to there, then I'll come back in.
Well, this is good discussion. I'm been glad, because I questioned that also. I was more concerned about competitiveness and building a building that sturdy enough to hold snow weight, and, because you're gonna be 30 plus, I mean, a trailer 45 feet?
40 feet on his plans.
40 feet on that plan is like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically, it's a hay barn with the back on it.
Exactly.
Have you had any comments from the city at all about this adjoining their?
Yeah, I mean, just from there, when I did my rezone, I've not done nothing more, they're not opposed to my rezone, we have a letter from the city that said they don't oppose.
Can we have you come to the mic? I can't hear you on the recording if you're in the.
I didn't know it's supposed to, sorry.
That's my bad for initiating it.
Nothing you said so far counts.
Chris Chambers, I guess I'm the one doing Triple C. Now, what was your question again?
Just if you have any comment from the city about.
Oh, just the comment. The city. I mean, when I approached the city because I had to get it get my rezone, they have no problems with that. I mean, I've nothing. No negatory from the city. No. So.
And it looks like not critical, but on your plans, you'll have to do some adjustments for those setbacks.
Yes. Yes.
Some of them are only 26 feet, but
Yeah.
not huge.
so. And we have, I mean, with the city, we've talked to the city a little bit, but we're gonna try to access it from 8th West. That's where we're gonna access it from.
That'll be your primary.
That'll be primary, it'll be the only access.
The only access.
The only access, yes,
Oh, didn't say on the agenda.
so,
Just, that means fire.
yes,
Cool.
yeah. I'm going to the fire. I've got to talk to the city, but we had talked about putting in a underground storage deal. Well, with what Visionary's doing across the street, they have got, I talked to the fire chief and they have extended, they've already got that fire hydrant in and it's right across the street from where my entrance is.
Will they let you hook onto that and run all the way through your unit?
Yeah, I've talked to the city and they said, or the fire chief, and he says, if that is there, we will use that for our fire.
Because in the county, you'll have to have one every 300 feet.
Yeah.
So you'll have to have a hydrant in the middle and possibly at the end of your facility. So
That's-
you just double check with the city and
Yeah.
make sure they'll let you hook onto that far. Because the hydrant on the road would be easy, but
Yeah.
you will have to have a couple inside.
I didn't know, that's something I didn't know about, so,
300 feet, so I don't know how long you are there, but
I don't know either,
you'll have to have one in the middle at least, I'm sure.
yeah, so.
Any other comments?
Any other comments, questions?
Just while you're up there, you're familiar with all 24 of the, conditional?
Yeah, I
conditions
mean,
of
I've read them, I'm
approval?
not familiar with what the whole engineer is, I don't know, you know.
And I would maybe make one change in your request, right? In there, you state that the only employees will ever be you and your wife essentially, right? The owner.
Yeah,
But 10 or 15 years from now, you might not want to be doing that. And this CUP will only allow the owners to be working
Okay.
there, right? I'd maybe change that.
I never thought
Before we
about
approve
that.
it, because you don't want to be there. when
Can I
you're
put family?
vacationing. Well, it may not even be family, right? You
Yeah.
might hire someone to operate it for you 20 years from now, but you don't want to be stuck with
I know.
the relative.
That's something, I'm new to this, so I don't know,
That's
yeah.
why, just reading through there, that's when it's, and not that we would pull your CUP because someone else you hired down the road, but we won't be here potentially then either. You don't want to be stuck to something that doesn't really matter, just because you put it in your original request. It's on, I think it's on the first page.
What number is it?
3C. Under the findings of fact.
The conditions?
And it-
That's what I'm looking at right now, which,
It's under 3D on the original one. Employees, the owners will be the only employees and will work part-time.
D.
Yeah.
I went to school in Lewiston.
While you're where you're at today.
so what would you,
I would just put, there'll be you're only gonna have a maximum of 2 employees.
Okay.
That may be part-time or full-time, potentially. I would just change it to that, because then it covers you either way. You can be the employee if you want, and if you wanna hire someone down the road, you can.
okay, that's good,
Just,
yeah. So, then do I make that motion, Rick, or do you, Rick?
we can make that motion. I just wanted to make sure you were okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah, appreciate that, Nate.
We approve it so they can change that in there.
Or we can put an envelope
Huh?
slot in here. Shoot me an update tomorrow morning.
All right. Pardon me, as he was, what's that?
He said, or we could put a envelope slot at your grave marker when it goes to the next generation down the road.
Yeah.
And I guess you're okay coming back for an amendment to it if you do end
Yeah.
up getting the stormwater from.
Yes, oh, yeah. I mean, we was hoping to have it done by now, but it's not there. I mean,
This way at least let you get through the
You won't
process.
have
Yeah.
to worry about it if you have another year like this year.
yeah,
That's the sad thing, you still have to build it just as big.
exactly right, but
Doesn't matter if it rains or not.
Wayne, what's
Yeah,
that?
It does, because we know it'll come eventually, we hope.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
You wanna see if anybody's here to comment on that?
Is anyone here that would like to have a comment on this CUP? Make a comment on it? Okay. Any discussion we want to have on this, or we?
conditions, so I don't know if you wanna add more in there, other than
It's a lot of conditions.
changing the one on, you know, on employees, having that changed in the wording.
Do we have a motion then?
Hey, just one thing, and I meant to mention this at Lowers. I really liked how we kinda mentioned softly to people to go with the lighting that just hits the ground. The flour mill out there is unbelievable for as much the way they light up, but it's not imposing on the neighbors. I just think that that's a good thing to go with lighting that covers it's covered in.
Yeah, the dark sky requirement, meet that.
Yeah, it was.
Talk about getting approval
Yep.
from Development Services for the lighting plan.
I saw it in there. Did you?
Yeah, I can't remember, I
It's
read
20,
it.
number 20,
Number 20.
so it's gotta be reviewed and approved.
Is that okay with you guys if you just hit the ground and not light up Polson's house or?
And the nice thing is they're gonna have a wall around 3 sides of that facility,
Yeah,
and
I
so,
mean, I'll have, like I say, with the RV parks, we'll have the wall around.
It's awesome.
Three sides, yeah.
it'll be covered up pretty good.
I was gonna even mention that with Lowers too.
Thanks for
For the park.
bringing that one up. I know there's one out in Petersboro that's
Yeah,
messes up my night pictures.
you bringing that up?
Not to mention any
You
names.
guys passed it.
I was not part of this commission then.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further discussion, I'd move that we approve the CCC secure storage conditional use permit.
The 24
24.
conditions,
Second,
two
with the 24
conclusions.
conditions?
Yeah, but, go ahead.
No, that's just,
24 conditions and
Two conclusions.
two
With
conclusions.
the one modification on the employees.
And did you want to add the planning commission will accept the walls of the structure
Oh,
as screening?
Yeah, the walls count as the screening on the outside, so you don't have
Yes.
to build a fence next to
Well,
the
for their
wall.
benefit, they're gonna want it secured, so they're gonna be tied into it anyway, but.
But the
Yeah,
question is
I
just the
support it.
3 walls.
Yeah,
Yeah, that,
the screening.
yep.
I think you have a motion in a second.
Okay, do we have a second then?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Val J.
Okay, item number 5, discussion on the general plan water use and preservation element.
Good evening, commission members. My name's Brandon Bell. I'm the countywide planner. If you recall, would have been last October, I believe, I came in and shared with you a summary of the state requirement that was passed in 2022 for there to be an addition to general plans that involve a water use and preservation element. And we we introduced it at that time. We've been working on that element with a consultant. We have 2 members from our consultant team with us tonight. One here's online, and we have Aubrey Larson from Landmark Design out of Salt Lake, and then Easton Hopkins with Hanson Allen Luce Engineers. And they've been working in partnership with the county to prepare this water use element. Just a couple of, and then we've had a steering committee working on it as well, which includes myself, our interim director, Angie, and then also Commissioner Dowgs and Councilmember Gunnell. And so we've had a number of meetings on that and the work of our consultant. We I believe you were sent an email first draft of this. And as was mentioned in a prior item, there's a strong respect for property rights. We're trying to work to apply that in this water element draft as it relates to water rights as well. One of the things a lot of times when you talk about conservation, there's a concern for the future, and some of the language we are proposing in this is that the present and needs for water stand on equal footing with the future to help ensure that there's that respect for current property rights. But I just want to give an introduction to Aubrey, who's a planner with with Landmark Design, and then Easton, and she's going to give you a presentation on that to bring you up to speed and give a refresher of what we talked about last fall and some other things about where the draft stands today.
Thank you. So Easton, who's with me, my laptop died, so he's on my speakerphone. Easton, do you mind speaking to see if we can hear you?
Yep, test.
Okay, cool. Does that work? Great. Okay, he's going to answer all the difficult questions. Good to be with you this evening. This has been a really fun project for me. I'm from Wellsville. I think I went to elementary school with some of your kids based on last names, so that's fun. Cache Valley will always be home for me, so as Brandon mentioned, we want to meet the state requirements, but we also want this to match the vision for the people who live and work here. So that's been central to this project. How do I? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so here's our agenda. I'm going to go through this fast because I hear there's a rodeo to get to tonight.
We're getting kicked out at 7 o'clock also.
All right, we will go super fast. So these are the agenda items I'm going to go through really quickly. Really, this is a crash course for you just to understand what's in this document, why it's there, and some of the key points that are being made. And Nate and Nolan, please feel free to interject. Okay, project background. So why does Cache County need a water chapter in their general plan? This is due to a bill that was passed in 2022, SB 110. It requires all counties to address how land use planning impacts water use. It's also due by the end of the year. So we've been working with that timeline in mind. There's 4 main requirements. There's a long laundry list that you can look at the state code, but these are the 4 central items. So first of all, looking at the effect of permitted development or development patterns on both water demand and water infrastructure. So a big part of this document is looking at land use in unincorporated Cache County, which is primarily agricultural with a little bit of residential. So we explore how those uses intersect with water. It also wants you to explore methods of reducing water demand and per capita water use, both for existing and future development. And then last of all, looking at opportunities to be more water efficient as a county. We have developed 4 guiding principles for this element. One thing I really love about your current general plan is the guiding principles. So I think it's appropriate to have some specifically for water planning. So number 1 on the list is respect for private property and water rights. Second is protecting and conserving agricultural lands, since they're a vital economic resource and they are tied to water. Third, encourage locally led wise stewardship. Let people make their own decisions, empower them with information and resources and programs. And 4, ensure new development aligns with long-term water sustainability goals and realities, so make data-informed decisions. There's also 4 different roles that are covered in this document. I won't go into this too much, just to say that the county is not a water provider. They do serve as a regulatory body responsible for land use planning and enforcing ordinances, so that's what you all do. So we're going to look at some strategies that work with that sandbox that you can play in. Then I'll just say, municipalities, your general plan, these areas are meant to absorb new growth. They have the infrastructure and capacity. And then we also spoke to 5 private culinary systems. I'll cover those quickly in a moment. And then, of course, Cache Water District is key to all of this. Okay, so again, we're looking at unincorporated Cache County. That's the focus of this water element, so bear that in mind. As you well know, you're part of the Bear River watershed. This is one of 5 river basins that drain into the Great Salt Lake. The state has established regional goals. The goal for the Bear River is an 18.1% reduction in gallons per capita per day by the year 2030. This goal, we've learned, is pretty outdated, but it does serve as a baseline or foundation. Groundwater. Groundwater is a big part of the water element. Nearly all of the county's culinary water comes from groundwater. We also learned that there's a study going on right now by a research team. This information will be super helpful for near-term decisions about water allocation, source protection, and then, of course, long-term planning, managing growth and water availability as that occurs. Some land use considerations. As I mentioned, there are 2 primary uses in unincorporated Cache: agriculture. If you look at the map on the right, all the kind of light green color is ag land. Agriculture uses surface water primarily, and when ag lands are developed, usually this water will shift towards use of the groundwater. Residential. There's a small bit of residential land, unincorporated communities. They rely primarily on private individual wells, and we know that if everyone goes out and digs a well, that does put more strain on the aquifer and increases the risk of source contamination. And as I mentioned, there's 5 private systems that also supply water. These are those 5 private systems I mentioned. Hopefully you can kind of see them on the map. We got Benson, centrally located. It's the largest with about 743 population. High Creek, Cove, and Goslin Spring, they're up in the north end. And then, of course, Paradise West Subdivision, the smallest with 31 at the south end of the valley.
Could I just, have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't there a water system that's out in west of Petersburg?
They're actually in
Up on the
Box
top,
Elder County
Box
though.
Elder.
They're registered in Box Elder. We looked at that as we were doing the study. Their water supply comes out of Box Elder County.
There is one more in Richmond too. It only feeds about 7 homes. No, 10. I think there's 10 shares.
I think less, oh, go ahead.
So this list was provided to us from the state as systems that we were requested and required according to their criteria to consult. So that's where
Yellow's might be
And just one minor clarification on there, the Benson Culinary Water District isn't a private, it is a public system.
Yes.
Special Service District.
Yep. Thank you. Good questions. Okay, so I called up each one of these water managers and we had a conversation. I asked them a set of questions. We talked ranging from 10 minutes to a half hour. Some were very excited to talk about this topic and others not so much, as you can imagine. But there were some themes and perspectives that came out of those conversations. These are not meant to represent all of Cache County, but I think they do have, some universal impact. So there's concern for rapid growth. I drove in today and wow, is there a lot of traffic. So I think everyone's thinking about growth. Where are people going to live? Where are they going to get their water? And then that has an impact on water quality. Each one was, one of their priorities was to make sure that water is delivered and that it remains high quality. Local autonomy, private water rights, being self-determined, that was very important. Water rights, they mentioned that it can be difficult to obtain new water rights, and many are already fully allocated. Also the concern for aging infrastructure. We talked a little bit about water conservation. Most of it is informal. People understand that they need to be good stewards of water resources, and so neighbors work together to be mindful. So there's not really any formal documents that lead that conservation. And then there was conversation about some opportunities to conserve water, mentioning agriculture and landscaping, and we'll get into some of the caveats there. Okay, agriculture. So we know agriculture is critical to the local and regional economy, billions of dollars from ag in Cache County. This document also goes into alfalfa. It's been painted as, the big bad, but we found a study that actually describes, here's some realities about alfalfa. It's a water efficient, resilient crop grown in the West in 11 states. Because many farms rely on alfalfa, shifting away is a lot more complex than just deciding one day to grow something else. So production is in place for alfalfa. So those are important to have in mind. Some other considerations. What's interesting about Cache County is not all of that ag land is irrigated. Some of it is dry farm, which just relies on rainfall, and these lands are more drought sensitive. So you can kind of see the breakdown with percentages. So about 40% is dry farm. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question. On here it says draft. I just looking at those pictures there. In the last 5 years, all of that blue that shows flood, and that doesn't, most of that has changed. Are we going to be able to get some updated? Because I see some, pretty significant areas that just aren't flooded anymore.
This data set came from the state, so I will double check to see if there's a more up-to-date version. But that's really good to know that that's not quite accurate.
Also, I mean, I see, you know, on the earlier one showing the breakdown, I would love to have some irrigated ground north, you know, out there on, I see my farm and it's actually not represented accurately as far as on that first map, as far as the crop breakdowns. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, where that comes from.
Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. How do I?
What page do you want?
So you got the two maps, you got page
6 and
page 8, shows here, with the crop breakdown.
Yeah, I don't know how often the state updates those. Not very often.
Yeah,
I guess.
we use the best available data, but we can definitely put a disclaimer about the data not being as accurate as it could be and to update when possible.
NRCS would be the best one to keep that up, wouldn't they?
They don't keep any maps like this.
I mean,
They do the 578 crop insurance.
Yeah, they keep your
Well, US,
the crop
whatever.
reports, but
well,
yeah.
you know, the concern is we just keep perpetuating some bad data. You know, that's the same as, you know, showing that our M&I water use is holding steady across the state for 30 years. And we know that's not the case, but it's the fact that all of our agriculture systems that were put in and now been converted to, you know, like Smithfield has 1,900 residential secondary connections, but it's all still counted through the state as ag water use. And so it skews the reports and shows them inaccurately. And the state's aware, and they're working on it. They just don't have a good method to capture it. Candace Hasenjager we've been beating that drum for the last year and trying to talk to her about it. And they're working on it, but it's still there. And so we don't want to, my concern is we don't want to publish something that has a 25 date on it, but then we're using data from 15 years ago.
Absolutely. This was definitely very challenging, and Easton can speak to doing the analysis bit and trying to make the best assumptions based on the best available data. So we'll look at that in a moment. I will definitely keep that in mind, making sure that's acknowledged, and where possible, find some updated data if we can. Okay. This last bullet was just to mention Cash and Box Elder and Weber are the top 3 participants in agricultural protection programs in the state. And there's 2 specific programs that are described in the document. Okay, we're moving into water supply and demand analysis. I'm going to try and go through this quickly. Water's complicated, as you know, so we'll do our best. So there's a mix of surface and groundwater sources, which can be limited by physical capacity, existing infrastructure, and then water rights, of course. Currently, surface water is primarily used for agricultural purposes, as we mentioned. And something to note is that using surface water to meet future residential demands would require significant investment, treatment, infrastructure, delivery, all of that stuff. So as development pressure grows, it's important to recognize the challenge of converting ag or surface water into viable culinary sources, especially compared to existing groundwater supplies. So that's something that is described in the document. Currently, groundwater supplies are sufficient to meet existing demands, but we know that with continued residential growth, this will place an increased pressure on those supplies. And as I mentioned, that study is going to be very helpful to understand groundwater. I think the last study was done in the 90s. So to avoid long-term depletion, a coordinated approach to the groundwater management is recommended. Okay, water demand. This is our best estimate at total annual water usage. So we've tried to show in this graph, agriculture is that green color, 92,500 acre feet, and then the small slice of residential and unincorporated at 3,450 acre feet. And then based on our best available estimates, this is meant to represent all other M&I use, so in the municipalities. Nate, how's that look?
Looks better.
Better, that's good.
Having 98% of agriculture and 2% M&I. Now we're giving M&I their chunk.
Yeah.
And this is only, so this doesn't count Lewiston, all the incorporated acres, so there's a lot more ag land in the county for sure.
Yep.
We did our best trying to.
We did do our
piece those
best.
farms out that are in and outside the city boundaries.
Okay, so water demand for existing agriculture. So about 60% of ag land in the county is irrigated. Most irrigated crops require less than 22 inches of water per acre. For this analysis, we used 18 inches. Nate helped us understand, ideal conditions, you'd get 22, but reality is it's probably closer to 18 or even less. There's also been some efficiency gains over the last few years. So water use per acre has decreased by about 3% since 2016, and it's expected to drop further with ongoing system upgrades. For residential, as I described, most residential water is coming from those individual groundwater wells. There's some data limitations here. Private well users are not required to report usage. So we did our best to estimate based on the data from the 5 culinary systems. So it's a guess, but it should paint a picture. So based on that estimated average irrigated area per residential lot, it's about 0.2 acres. This suggests a total annual demand of 1 to 1.5 acre feet per home. And that includes both indoor and outdoor uses. Likely drivers of this are high per home use, likely due to outdoor irrigation, water in your yard, especially turf grass, rather than ag. When we look at future demand, some assumptions that can be made from this analysis. Agricultural water is expected to decrease as efficiency continues to improve and land is converted near growing municipalities. If you look at the map on the right, those red hatched areas are annexation declaration areas. So the cities have said, hey, if we're going to grow, it'll probably be in these areas. By 2060, there will be about 1,500 to 1,750 new homes. I believe this is just an unincorporated cache, and that would reduce ag land by about 1,000 acres. Water demand with that growth would increase culinary water demand by about 2,000 acre feet annually. Some land use conversion considerations. Again, converting from ag to municipal may lead to increase in water usage because it's constantly pulling from the aquifer. You can turn on the sink, water your lawn. A little different than surface water that gets delivered different ways. This depends on density. Higher density, I believe, per acre consumes more water, but there are some benefits to some density. So there's a caveat there that density will introduce some different variables. New development will likely rely on groundwater to supply drinking water. And with these considerations, the county could focus on reducing demands of future municipal development, specifically outdoor demands.
Just real quick on that last slide, top bullet.
Let's see if
With your experience and involvement with communities, on that supply, let's see, right there. Converting ag to molded municipal may lead to an increase in water usage. So how many, as far as I know, Richmond right now, if you sell your land to development, you've got to give your water shares to go towards culinary. Is that pretty similar throughout the state or the county, or
That's a good question.
It's pretty similar city to city in our county. There's some cities that require just a portion of it, because the developer can say, here's what, based on the state's quantities, here's what my development will take for homes, and so they don't have to give all their shares up. So Logan will let you do that. North Logan, I know a couple of them will let you do that, so you don't have to turn everything over. And that's part of why we put in this bullet. The other reason is a lot of our development, like that big one south of Hiram that wants to go in, Hiram Reservoir up on the ridge, right, that's all dry farm. So the water use on that ground is gonna go up significantly if we put those 27 homes in. And so this was trying to catch both of those things. There's one, the M&I switches it over and pumps groundwater. And as we developed those 39% of our ground that's dry farm, that's all new water that's gotta come from somewhere.
The only other question with that too is I still recognize there's property rights, there's water rights. But is this county or any other county doing anything to eliminate being able to sell? And I know that irrigation companies can get involved, but we're still seeing water move from here to here. That really doesn't help.
So the question is from an irrigation company perspective, so they come in and they have a water right from a share, not a right, a share in a mutual irrigation company. They come in, they get their permit to build it. From an irrigation company standpoint, after it's built, and they've got their well, and they're irrigating, then if they want to sell that water share, we don't, as a company, they come in and say, yeah, we sold our water share, but now, so that water share leaves the property, but they're still gonna be there living, and so that groundwater use is gonna go way up. And how does the county?
So the share, so they shouldn't be able to do that part legally, right? Because even to drill a well, the canal company has to sign a paper letting them do a change application to portion off a portion of their share, so they actually have a right for that well.
But what they're doing is they're coming in and they're irrigating.
Out of the well.
No, off their irrigation share from the mutual irrigation company, and so they got a pasture around their home.
Did they use the well for their shares, or did they have
They
separate
acquired
water?
that separate.
Okay.
So the well was separate, but now they're taking, and so it's approved, but as a mutual irrigation company, you know, we don't have, if they come in and say, yeah, we want to transfer it, or even inside a city limit. So the city said you gotta have a share to get a building permit. They get the building permit,
And then
build the
then they
house.
sell the share.
And within a year, they sell the share, and then it puts that big demand back on a culinary system. And, you know, from an irrigation company perspective, we don't have, you know, it's in our bylaws, if they come in with a signed certificate, they sell it, we just have to transfer it. But it puts a demand and a burden on a community and on the county when that happens, because that was part of the plan, and they're not following the plan anymore. And I guess the question is, as a county, should we be worried about that?
I think we should be.
And I think the way to solve that is require that share to be transferred to that well as a right.
But we
'Cause
don't
then
even.
it has to stay with that property.
I'm
But we
opposed
can't do
to
that here.
Yeah.
But
But that doesn't even guarantee them water
Yeah.
in the hole.
It's still something
yeah.
to think about though, because I'm even opposed from it going from Richmond to Providence. Because again, our canal companies are set up on assessments, and when you're pulling shares, that's one part of it, but the water too, how can you literally move water from Richmond's aquifer to the dry bench of Providence?
Well, now you're getting into a water
yeah,
right, and that's a state engineer.
level. We can't stop
can't.
that on the county level.
Yeah.
That's a state engineer.
That needs a change though, on the state level, for sure.
Good luck.
I know.
It would be
Is
good.
this stuff you've heard before?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, everyone's struggling with
Everyone
this.
feels the same.
And just to make everyone aware, we have 5 minutes.
That's right.
What I think I'm going to do is go to these two main points, because I think this is really at the core of what we're presenting. So the first point, when residential usage, the number we came up with is applies across the data set, it becomes clear that per acre water use in residential areas does exceed that of agriculture, which I think is unique. The argument is that agriculture uses more than residential, but for Cache County,
Article KSL.
We want a little more data before we give it to KS.
yeah, but as development occurs and that switch from surface to groundwater, it's showing that per acre water use in residential areas will be greater than ag. Second point, supporting, continuing, and preserving agriculture, which uses water wisely in Cache Valley, can be considered a water preservation strategy. So I think that's the thesis of this document. Agriculture, use and preservation, that's part of water use and preservation. Who's better steward of water than a farmer? My grandpa was a farmer. He worked every day to feed his cows. He knew more about being an environmental steward than anyone I knew. So those are the two main points, and I think they're very unique to Cache County, and I think will be something to be proud of when we present this to City Council, I believe.
And I think the other thing that we had trouble with this is, right, we're looking at unincorporated, and over the next 35 years, we're gonna grow 15 to 1,700 homes, right? The municipalities are gonna grow 10 times that and use way more water than we're even thinking of considering, and we have no control over that. And so we're trying to put in some strategies to control what we can, but knowing that we're only in control of a very small percentage of what's gonna happen. with water in the county, with this plan. Which is kind of frustrating.
You can.
Because it's not a
It is.
countywide
I
plan.
was just
It's an unincorporated countywide plan.
So I'm just going to give you homework. Please read the draft, take a look at these strategies. The first one I think is the most important to take into consideration about a landscaping standards that would enable county residents to participate in state rebate programs. And then I'll just quickly, next steps. We want to give you time to review this and provide feedback, integrate that feedback, get the document spruced up, and then move forward through the adoption process, ideally before December 2025 when it's due. Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
Would you get a new copy out to us, Brandon, an updated one? Because the one we have, is we've made a number of changes
I
already.
think the maps too really need to be, like Val J said, taken into consideration with the material that they have.
Well, we've made every effort to work on the most up-to-date data that we have. So we can only work with the data that we've been given by the state, so we'll do our best. Just a couple points, data points. One, every new home that goes in an unincorporated county, just 1 second, puts in, I think it's 1.28 acre feet of water use in an unincorporated county. If you were to blanket the unincorporated county in sod, it'd be 6 acre feet, per acre that you'd be using. So it's a really interesting data point to use because we hear ag uses lots of water. Well, ag doesn't use lots of water. What it does is when you have lots of ag, it uses water, right? It uses a good amount of water, but that's because there's just lots of ag. So it's been really educational from that perspective to share to put these data points together and pull it together. So, and we will give you a new draft as soon as possible, and we'll be here either September or October meetings to have you consider the final draft for recommendation to the council. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aubrey.
Thank you. With the time constraints we have, should we move to item number 6 to the next meeting?
It's okay with me.
Is that okay with you? Okay. Is that all right?
No, they're knocking on the door
I
out
know.
there.
Okay. Well, if that works with you, then if there's any other thing we don't need to discuss